Hey everybody, welcome back to Sophisticakes by Mary. Guess what? It's fall again. It's here. It's finally here. So I wanted to show you how I made these fondant pumpkins. These are a super simple way to start with sculpting with fondant is to make pumpkins. And I also do a geometric pattern. It's almost an optical illusion, transfer method, and a bark impression. So these are the colors that I'm using for my pumpkins. I wanted to do blue and orange. I think that's a really neat color combination. And what I'm doing is adding some Tylose to some fondant. I just used color gels to color the fondant, and then I am just adding in that Tylose and mixing it in. A good rule of thumb is to use about, you see that size of that fondant, that orange there, about a teaspoon for that size. And you can kind of feel it toughening up as you are folding it in. Also, if you set it aside for a few minutes, it kind of starts to activate prior to you needing to use it. And what that Tylose does is it keeps your fondant from getting slouchy. It holds its shape better. Instead of using gum paste, it gives you a little bit more time to play with it when you use the Tylose with the fondant. But it dries firmer and quicker than without. So you just roll these into a ball. I put a little indentation in the center on the top just so I can keep track of where the center of my pumpkin is, and just use Dresden tools or any kind of a tool that you prefer to push those lines in. I kind of alternate between tools because, well, you know, why not? It's fun. Play with the tools. See what gives you the look that you're preferring. And do this with all of your pumpkins. Now you can vary the shape of them. You can make them taller, you can make them flatter. I kind of squished some of them in the end, and some of them I made taller. And there are my blue ones. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for all of my colors. So I've got 2 shades of blue, the orange, with a little bit of brown in the orange to give it more of that pumpkin orange. That's kind of how, a little hint, how to get your fall colors. Use your regular color gels, but add a little touch of brown. That gives you the fall look. And so yeah, so I had the orange and the 2 shades of blue, which is a cornflower blue, and then a white. I think these are a really neat alternative to fall colors. You know, you have your standard fall colors, but this kind of is different, and I kind of like it. And this is the one that I made a little taller. And this one too, apparently. And make these ahead of time. You could make these before you start putting your cake together and set them aside so that they firm up while you're putting your cake together. That's how I like to do it anyway. And I'm just making stems with the same fondant that I added some brown food coloring and a little bit of Tylose. I rolled it out into thin little log and then kind of twist them like you would a pigtail, like an actual pigtail. If you're making a pig out of fondant, the little corkscrew tail, that's basically the shape of this. And to get them to stick in, I just added a little bit of water with a brush and just stick them on in there. And there's all the pumpkins. Super simple. Especially for a beginner, to get your feet wet with fondant sculpted figures is to try pumpkins. I highly suggest that. And now we're going to make our transfer. This is just regular fondant. I did not add Tylose to this, but it's the same colors. And roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. Now I did this with all of them because it helps to cut your fondant if it has a chance to sit and firm up for just a little bit before you actually do the cutting. That's a little hint. You know, when you cut out fondant shapes, sometimes they get misshapen, and it's because they didn't have time to sit and firm up a little bit. And this is a little square cutter that I have a packet for. Actually, my boss does. She let me use it. And I'll attach a link to where you can purchase this. There's different sizes. These are great for like Minecraft cakes, but I have decided that I am no longer ever going to do another Minecraft cake again. Trust me, I have done my fair share. Yeah, they're cute, but holy cow, are they a lot of work. And just remove your extra pieces. And then I'm gonna take these and squares and actually make them into triangles. And I'm just using a straight clay cutter, and I'm just cutting corner to corner on all of these. And again, if these hadn't had time to firm up, they would be a little stretchy, a little harder to work with. And do this with all of your colors. Now I'm using a piece of acetate that you can purchase on Amazon. Again, I will put a link in the description box. If I forget, remind me and I'll get you a link. And I'm just putting a little shortening on the mat, on my self-healing mat. And that just gets your acetate to stay in place while you are putting your fondant pieces on it. So you're not messing with that rolling up on itself. That's really a pain in the butt. And then I put a little bit more shortening on the top. And I'm gonna use those markings on the mat to help me line things up, to keep things in order. You can see right through that acetate sheet and you can see your markings instead of guessing at it. And this keeps everything lined up and in perfect shape. And just pick the pattern that you want to use for your optical illusion here. And just do a repeating pattern. I won't lie, this took a long time to do. But I think the result is well worth it. You could place these on one at a time on your already crumb-coated and frosted cake. You can do that either way. I don't know which one would be faster, but I know that I personally feel like this is a cleaner look. Look at me go. Wish I could move that fast. And then I just sprayed the cake that was already frosted and in the freezer with some water. Now, I kind of messed up on this, and you know me. If you do know me, you know I admit when I've made a mistake. This cake did not have a board under it. Shame, shame, shame. I didn't check to see if it had a board under it because I had already crumb coated it in advance, and I forgot that it didn't. But it's easier to, it's just easier to do if you have a board on the bottom. It's just cleaner. It worked, but you can see some of the pieces do fall off, and that's okay because your outline, your skeleton of your pattern is there. And that skewer in the middle just helped me lift the cake onto that pattern on the board and just rolled it on there. I just find that that's a little easier. You could put another board on the top and the bottom and roll it that way if that works for you. But yeah, just go ahead and realign anything that needs to be cleaned up. And since I didn't have that board on the bottom, you can see that it's kind of got dented in on the bottom there, bottom left. But I believe I fixed it pretty good. But yes, put a board on the bottom. Do as I say, don't do as I do, as my mom says. And once I got those all realigned, I just took out that skewer out of the middle. I suppose I could have used that as a support, but I like to use the straws. So now we're gonna do the bark impression. And this tier, I made a boo-boo on this one, guys. At some point I'm gonna tell you what's going on in my life, but I was a little distracted. Yeah, I'll tell you eventually. But I am just using fondant with no Tylose, I don't believe, and a bark impression mat. And I didn't want it to actually look like bark. I just kind of wanted that texture. You can use this on brown fondant to make bark, but yeah, I just like that pattern. So just put some cornstarch on your fondant, roll it out to about 1/4 inch thickness because it's gonna thin out as you are pressing the impression mat on it. And then I did set it aside and let it firm up for about a good half hour, 45 minutes before I transferred it on. Then I inserted my straws, added some chocolate ganache, you can use buttercream, and put my top tier on. Here you see, it was too big. Wow, was it too big? So I decided I was just gonna go ahead and lop off that section. I just used my serrated knife, cut it down, cut the straw down, and just put more buttercream on top. I could have saved myself a lot of trouble if I wasn't preoccupied in paying more attention to my sizings. I like tall cakes, but that was ridiculous. And then once you get those on there, just go ahead and put your decorations on. And I added some dry and some artificial berries and some dried floral to go along with the whole fall theme. I think this is a good introduction to our fall cakes. Instead of starting with the scary one, we'll start with something that's pretty. All right, so there she is all done, and I think she did turn out very, very pretty. I'm a huge fan of this color combination. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something from it, from my mistakes as well as my accomplishments. I'm human, I make mistakes too. So if you make mistakes, don't get discouraged, just fix it. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video, and if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.